My dad is an engineer, although I say that I didn't really know what he did for the majority of my life. He was always travelling, and that's something I found really interesting, and I thought, do you know what, that's something cool that he does that I would like to do when I grow up. He worked offshore quite a lot of the time, and like the oil and gas industry, but also like other different industries throughout his time, like temporary power generation. I don't know if you know the movie Deepwater Horizon. Yeah, it's actually a movie about an oil rig disaster that went really bad, an engineering accident, and my dad as children took me and my sister to watch this in the cinema. I'm actually dyslexic, so the English and written subjects were not my strong point, but those technical subjects is where I really found kind of a love and a passion, and I enjoyed those subjects as well as being good at them. After I did that summer school, I was really set at that point. This is actually what I want to do.
Erin, welcome to the Engineer Career Podcast.
Thanks for inviting me.
This is really exciting. You know, we've got a bit of a link because obviously my sister worked with you, but it's really exciting to finally get you here. Feels like it's been a while.
No, it's good to be here as well. Thanks for inviting me, and like I said, it's a great thing to be part of. I believe in your vision with it, so it's good to be part of it. I'm
so glad that finally one person has said that. No, it's good. It's good that we're both obviously GCU alumni as well, and to be here at Glasgow Caledonian University, and I'm sure it's brought back some nice memories of being here.
Yeah, definitely. Just before this, I went up to the rooftop garden to do the prep, and I was like, it's such a nice day today as well, so good to be here back in GCU.
Funny story, I went up there for the first time about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
After spending 5 years here.
Well, most of the time it's logged, not in the Glasgow weather, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what it is. So we've had some good weather. So, this is so good. It's going to be great to explore your career. I know you've obviously been at university for a few years now, and you've made your first step out of your graduate scheme, and I can't wait to dive into it all, but particularly interested to hear your route into engineering. So this is great.
Well, thank you.
So, as we always start, what initially sparked your interest in engineering?
So I was thinking about this, so I guess it's a kind of a typical answer, which is fortunate for me, is that my dad is an engineer. Although I say that I didn't really know what he did for the majority of my life. So it's good now to relate to my dad, knowing a little bit more about what he does. But in terms of in ways he did inspire me, is that he was always travelling, and that's something I found really interesting, and I thought, do you know what, that's something cool that he does that I would like to do when I grow up. He got to travel quite a lot with his work. He worked offshore quite a lot of the time, and like the oil and gas industry, but also like other different industries throughout his time, like temporary power generation. So although I didn't know much about what he did, I knew that he travelled, and I knew that he seemed to enjoy his lifestyle with that. So something that inspired me initially. I was thinking as well, what kind of shaped my interest is that actually I don't know if you know the movie Deepwater Horizon.
No,
but it's
really boring by not
it's actually a movie about an oil rig disaster that went really bad, an engineering accident, and my dad as children took me and my sister to watch this in the cinema, which is absolutely crazy thinking about it now, but that's something that I found really interesting to see, this is what my dad does, and obviously see the extreme side of that, of what happens when engineering goes wrong. So I think I was quite introduced to the both sides of that, even as a kid. So as a young person, but going forward, when I was choosing my subjects in school, I did really like physics and maths, and that's what I tended to be better at. I'm actually dyslexic, so the English and written subjects were not my strong point, but those technical subjects is where I really found kind of a love and a passion, and I enjoyed those subjects as well as being good at them. So I chose physics. And then my physics teacher, when I was in fourth year doing my national fives, recommended that I applied to a summer school at the University of Strathclyde, which was called The Future of Engineering for Girls. It was sponsored by BP, and that was the first year they ran it, which was in 2016. After I did that summer school, I was really set at that point. This is actually what I want to do. So that's really the beginning.
That's amazing.
Yep.
I love that. I love how, I wonder if it's coincidence, but obviously your dad being an engineer, and then your kind of natural skill set, interest in school kind of come together. Sometimes when I think back to hearing different people's stories, and it is a common theme that people find their career through a parent or someone of influence around them, and but it's also really important, I guess, to show that the physics side and the maths side tied you towards engineering as well. Also sounds, what you said there about BP, that's really interesting, because when I think of 2016, I've graduated in 2015, and I always remember I kind of felt the sting of like the oil and gas crash. It was like late 2014, I think it was, but the knock-on impact was into 2015, 2016. But it's good to hear that BP are still thinking of the future anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like that summer school I ran, I don't know if it's still running, but it has ran after that year, and even I met some girls that on that course. So think about, I was 14 at the time. I still know some of them, and one of them is also an engineer, so it works. And it really shows you that it really does work. And like you said about my dad being an engineer, I feel fortunate because I got to see an engineer in real life. That's why I personally believe a lot in STEM Ambassador, because you kind of have to see it to believe you can do it. So that's why I believe in that really strongly as well.
Yeah, we'll dive into that, because you and I met at a Cheers to Careers event at IMechE last year, which was an event obviously I know of. It used to be called Careers and Beers. And yeah, I saw your STEM work in action there. So so yeah, talk me through school then. So at school you mentioned you had your Nat 5s, your hires, so maths, chemistry, physics. Was it all plain sailing? How did you find, you mentioned dyslexia there. How did you finding out about your dyslexia, and then your method of learning? How did that all come around?
So I would say that I was quite lucky, because I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 7 years old. So that is probably the ideal point to find out, because that gives you the more chance to learn to like adapt to your learning styles and also get support where you need to. So I think that was really fortunate for me. My sister's also dyslexic. It was probably good that I got diagnosed, because then it meant when she was showing similar characteristics, and she could also get that diagnosis early, which helped us a lot. So that was fine. So I guess you don't understand it at 7 years old, but as you do see the difference between yourself and your peers, and you compare even at that young age. But I think going forward, I was very determined to do well at school. So I worked really hard in school throughout primary and high school to try and, I guess, keep up, but also not just keep up. Like I was wanting to do the best that I could. And that's actually when it came to, I did really well in my national fives year, so that was in fourth year. But then going forward to the higher year, I actually found that jump really difficult. I don't think it's really understood enough, like the jump from national fives to hires. Like you break off for summer, feel glad that you passed your exams, and you come back and you're like, oh, there's so much more I need to know for this year. So I found that jump really difficult, and that's where probably I found it the most difficult. And I found with even although like education about dyslexia and other things like that is better now within teachers, I think a lot of teachers still didn't understand it, and they just assume that you aren't putting the work in. And I think I dealt with that a lot in school, where people assume you aren't putting the work in, even though I know, my parents know, I'm studying all night, every night, before school, after school. My parents actually would tell me to stop studying. They would have to tell me to stop studying, because just myself was really determined to do well in school. But teachers didn't always see that side of it. So
I love hearing that. Yeah. It's my mind's racing. I'm trying to like think of all things I want to talk to you about this, because I really want to kind of discuss it. So for complete transparency, my dad's dyslexic, and so is my brother. So my older brother. So I grew up almost with the discussion of dyslexia being around quite a lot, and I saw my brother he left school in fifth year to do an apprenticeship, because he just it wasn't for him. So I'm really interested from your point of view, because I don't want to assume that. I think you worked hard not because you're dyslexic. You worked hard because you wanted to work hard. So I'm interested to know, did you feel, was there the support you got? Did it help you study and do your studying in a different way to what you believe those who didn't have dyslexia did, or what did you feel that you did? And the reason I'm asking this is because there's someone's going to listen to this who's either child's got dyslexia or dyslexic, or someone who's got it who may be thinking, I want to go to university or I want to pursue an academic route, but I need to find the techniques that suit me, right? So how did you approach things? And I don't want to sound condescending by asking this, I really want to home in on it.
So to start off with, like I said, diagnosed at 7 is ideal because I got support right from that day, basically, even before. So yeah, before diagnosis and after diagnosis, I was getting help from the teachers, which was fantastic, specialist teachers. And I would say, like, I don't know what they were doing, but it did help. So I can't tell you what they did. You need to ask a specialist in child psychology or something what exactly is good for that. And also I would say everybody is different. Even dyslexic people are different, so it's going to vary so much. But the support I got in high school, by that point it was more extra time in exams, which even just time alone is so much help, because it makes the huge difference, especially when it takes so much longer to read something and process something. When you're in an exam, you're already stressed, and I feel like if you're under stress, everything's worse. You're having to read something maybe 2 or 3 times just for it to sink in. So having that extra time is fantastic. Other people, like my sister, I know, like, had scribes, readers. If you need that support as well, the schools often offer that, but you do need that diagnosis, which is why I was so fortunate to get that at such a young age. So but in terms of study techniques, even you see here, like, preparing for this interview, I've like just spread it all randomly out on a page. Maybe not. I don't
think that's randomly at all. And you know the best thing about it is like, if you've listened to anything I talk about, I absolutely love mind maps.
Exactly.
And that is one of the most neatest mind maps I've seen.
so yeah, I guess, like, maybe you just look at things a little bit differently sometimes, and I think that's, like, obviously there's pros and cons to it. I think, like you said about your dad and your brother, I mean, yeah, it's easy to say you don't see any cons to it, but it is difficult when you're trying to, when you compare yourself to your peers and everything seems like it comes much easier to them than it does to you.
Sorry, absolutely. I think the reason I'm hoping this is the two people who I looked up to was my dad and my brother, and I didn't ever see it as holding them back. And they're both engineers. That's what I was going to just say. I think it helps in engineering. When I was going to go on to talk about the subject, so you already know I like maths and physics, but I also really liked art, and I really liked Spanish as well. Just a bit random, but I've loved those subjects probably equally as much, and I think that like artistic side especially does come into engineering, and I think that's what many people with dyslexia are actually good at as well, is that creativity, thinking about things differently. And even like with obviously CAD and 3D modelling and stuff like that, I think comes a lot more easier to me than it did to some of my peers in university. Like, just like that kind of look at something and almost like imagine what it would be, what that would look like exploded out into explosion, like drawing kind of thing, just in your mind kind of thing. Like, so I think there's like I said, like there is engineering is probably something, it's probably helped me in engineering, but in school is where you feel the challenges, I think. Well, I say this a lot, we don't plan what we ask, and I really appreciate you sharing it, because you're helping someone by sharing, how it helped, or the support you got, but also the challenge as well. So thanks for that. So we're going to go into your route then. So school, you flew by school, and you then went to university, and you came to here. So you went to GCU. So talk me through. You come to the end of school. Talk me through why you picked mechanical systems, and what other courses you looked at, and other universities you might have looked at.
Yeah, so I guess going back to school, when I was in 5th year doing my hires, I actually was kind of a bit fed up with some of the teachers who thought I wasn't putting in the effort, and was like, this is the last year I'm going to do in school. And I was like 15 when I made that decision, and I applied to university that year, 5th year. Wow. So I went to university after 5th year. Wow. Yeah, so, but the journey wasn't exactly smooth, because I did apply to uni I didn't decide this decision until late in the day, later than it would have been ideally decided, because our school had kind of a cut-off for applications earlier than the UCAS application. So I was had went to open day at Glasgow University, and then that's how I found out you could attend. Just you could basically apply to university just with your hires, which I didn't even know at that point until then. So I realised, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to apply for uni and see what happens. So I applied for uni in a bit of a rush to get my application in time. So I applied for like different types of engineering. I wasn't set specifically on mechanical at that point. But I applied for Glasgow University 2 courses and then Strathclyde for 3 courses. I hadn't even applied to Cali originally because I didn't actually, I didn't look into it. Like I said, like I applied in a rush to try and get it in before the deadline. But when it came round to results day, I had just missed my requirements for my top choice, which was for DMEM, so Design, Engineering, Manufacturing at Strathclyde. But I wasn't rejected yet because I was like still on a waiting list. But at that point, I was panicking because I was thinking, what happens if they just reject me? And at that point, I was thinking maybe all the clearing spaces would go away by that point. So I was looking at clearing all different places. Robert Gordon and GCU came up in the clearing list, and that's when I phoned them up. And when I phoned up to GCU, they said, I phoned up and asked about the BEng programme, and they had said, oh, well, we do have space on that, but actually you also you have the grades to apply for the MEng programme. So then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to take that opportunity. So I then had to reject my offer from Strathclyde because it was still pending, even though I had missed the requirements, but I had phoned them and they had said they were still to make a decision on that. But I didn't want to miss out on this new opportunity that I had just came up with and decided that would be good for me. So I then accepted that and was set to go to GCU in the September.
That's amazing. Yep. Which means you joined GCU in 2018. 3 years after I graduated. So, talk me through. So it was mechanical systems engineering.
Mechanical systems engineering is what I went with. Yeah.
And
so
talk me through the course. What was the kind of? I mean, I know the course to be fair, but talk me through what was the main elements of it.
So when I first actually applied, it was mechanical electronic systems engineering, and then they then dropped the electronic. But so that. I guess you went either way at that point, where people went down more electrical or people went
electrical
mechanical.
Systems, was it? Power, electrical power, was it?
Yeah, electrical power, I think. So, but at that point, first year was very general anyway. So you cover your different stuff in the workshop. So we got a bit of welding, a bit of they had a lathe CNC machining. So that was really fun to get involved in. We made a robot, which was, I guess, both that mechanical and that electrical side, because we made the H-bridge and Arduino and coded that up. So it was really good experience, especially first year getting that hands on. Then I went into second year, and again it was similar. A lot of like fundamental engineering, a bit more deeper into the mechanics, and then I went into study control and instrumentation as well that year. So there was a lot of different modules. There was also your like CAD design modules. I'm trying to think back now.
How did you find the jump from leaving school at 5th year? Would you have been 16 turning 17?
16 turning 17.
How did you find that coming to university with, I'm presuming there was maybe 18-year-olds, some older? How did you find that?
So I think coming to Cali actually was like a blessing in that sense, because you probably know there was a lot of apprentices in Cali. Right. So I didn't feel like the odd one out in my course, because we had people from like myself, like just out of school, but we also had quite a number of people who were from industry, then they're doing this apprenticeship, so there was all ages. I remember a conversation just before I went into one of my tests where someone was speaking to me about how at the weekend it was his daughter's 21st birthday, and this was in first year, and he was like, and now he's like, I feel a bit out of place because I'm here with everyone who's the same age as my daughter. And I was thinking, even 21 at that point seemed like a lot older, so I was just like nodding, but I was like, wow, like you feel out of place because you're older, but I also in the same way feel out of place being younger. But I think that I didn't have a negative impact at all.
It's not held you back, so
yeah,
that's awesome, brilliant. So was there any particular part of your course that you really enjoyed? Was there a part that you thought, I've picked mechanical systems, but this is the kind of area which certainly within your studies that you had a strength in or that you enjoyed most?
Yeah, so I actually really enjoyed the control side. So that control and instrumentation module, then we went in to study control, I believe it's called control 3, control 4.
Yep.
And actually the reason why I actually enjoyed it is because it was really difficult to begin with. And then the more I went into it, and then one day it just clicked, and I understood it, which is, it's crazy to say that light bulb moment, but that is probably the strongest light bulb moment I've ever had, where like one day I was like, I guess like you're pulling your hair out trying to understand something. It's just not, you couldn't visualize it, you couldn't see it, and then to understand what they were trying to get through. So that was kind of my interest.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. See BAE Systems now, I know we're going to get on to it. Do you must use quite a bit your control, do you? Or you're in design teams, do you do any system like PCDs?
I don't use too much of it, to be honest. Like I would like to use more, so I need to probably like position myself in a way where I could.
I'm just thinking of ship systems. I mean, I've worked with Vaseline and it's just funny you say that, because I did control a bit of my course. What we did was, so I did computer aided mechanical. People who listen to this must be bored with me saying the same thing, but basically I remember we did control 1 and 2 and then we stop, but then soon I went into industry. I've probably used control quite a bit, you know, certainly within ship systems on submarines. So
but there's definitely a lot of that in my work, but I've just not been in that team. But I do need to probably try and reach out and kind of just maybe even just say like I have an interest in this area. But
warm up to that again.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So you're coming to you did your 5 years and you're obviously happy doing your masters. It's funny because a lot of people will reach out to me through engineering career, particularly in the talent network, and they'll say to me, "Oh, Josh, do you think I should do the 5 years?" And I'm like, if it's not going to cost you anymore, if it's integrated, I'm like, a year, an academic year is not a 12 months. And I just think sometimes, certainly I've seen it's probably easier to do it at the time when you're in the flow of university than it is to do it 5 years along the line when you've got a job and other things to juggle. So I guess you didn't regret it.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like, especially like looking to apply for chartership, it makes it so much easier to have it already without having to think, I'm going to have to go back. And like you said, if you do go back, it is going to be a full year and you're going to either have to fund it or get someone to fund it. I remember like having a conversation with like some of the international students who were on the same kind of classes as us when we were in masters, and they were saying, why aren't Scottish people doing it more? Especially when, like you said, if you're doing an integrated degree, it's free of charge, and like you said, it says it feels like, here's another year of university, but it isn't a year. And it helps you so much. And if I don't want to say it wasn't harder, but it wasn't that much of a jump that you think it is going to be. This is going to be hilarious. I didn't find it harder, but I did fail my only exam I've ever failed in my master's year. But that was probably just a one-off. But I didn't find it as hard. But I guess everyone's. I mean, I never ever thought about not doing. I was always going to do my masters when it came to fourth year. But when I was earlier in university, I was like desperate to leave and just get an apprenticeship because I saw my brother earning money, and I was like. But then I realised that it was the best thing I did. So for me personally, because I enjoyed it and I loved university, so hence why I'm still sitting here. So you during your studies though, you went and you did some. You went to the University of... You went in Switzerland for a bit. Yeah, so...
Talk me through that. How did that come about?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a long story. It kind of ties into the question about setbacks, because I had actually applied for a semester abroad, and I applied and I got accepted to Polytechnic University in Valencia.
Right, okay.
So that was my plan. That was just before COVID happened, and then COVID obviously happened. We at the time weren't too sure how long COVID would last, because this was a whole year in advance basically. So I was still going through the process of getting set up to go there. I got my visa. I was looking at booking accommodation and everything, but I was to leave in February 2021, and as you know, by February 2021, COVID hadn't cleared up yet. So that ended up falling through, and I was really disappointed with that. But obviously, you can't do anything at the time. It is what it is. So, move on. And the next opportunity I seen to kind of get that international experience was this partnership with the university in Switzerland, which was then basically it was partly with the university. I can't remember the whole name of it, but like the university in Switzerland, OST, and then it was with Stadler Rail. So that was going to be over the summer. And again, that was supposed to be in person in Switzerland. By the time we got to this summer, it was kind of disappointing because most people could travel from around Europe, but UK was still not allowed into Switzerland because they had a tier system at that time in COVID.
God, that's bringing back.
Yeah, so we were in a tier that wasn't allowed to travel, and I ended up having to do that from home. But at least it wasn't cancelled completely. But it wasn't the same experience as it would have been. But what I worked on in there was, so we studied for a few weeks in sustainable studies. So it was different things about the UN Sustainable Development Goals and all that kind of things related to the environment. Then we were working directly with a company, and the company I was working with was Stadler Rail. And I was given a project to research into ecological defrosting for trains, because they operate trains in like freezing cold temperatures. And I know in Scotland, when our weather gets bad, all the trains get cancelled, but in other parts of the world, like they're still operating trains in 4 feet of snow and ice, and it was about how to do that safely whilst also not harming the environment, because a lot of the chemicals they were using for defrosting agents at the time were obviously very harmful to the natural environment, and that's something that's really important, especially in some of these European countries. Like obviously they're beautiful countries like Switzerland and everything like that. They do value protecting that, and I think that was a really interesting project. It wasn't too long, but we did, like, I was in a team and we looked into different technologies like nano coatings on materials and things like that, as well as we looked into the possibilities of things like waste heat recovery and things like that as well. But it obviously was a short-term project, just over a few weeks, but it was really interesting. Learned a lot from that.
Brilliant.
Yep.
So before we go into your move to BAE Systems for undergrad scheme, you did get an internship with BAE Systems.
Yeah.
And you did have your you were with Kilbride consultancy engineers as well for a bit.
Yep.
So how did it come about getting your internship with BAE Systems?
So like I said, like I kind of had went through it with a lot of things getting cancelled in COVID, and I was very keen to apply for something local. So when I was looking at internships to apply to the following year, like filtered on Glasgow because because obviously like I was willing to travel, but at that point it just wasn't working out. So I was really set on doing something that I could get there physically in person, which I was really glad to then see that Glasgow BAE Systems was hiring quite a lot of engineering interns that year. Applied, went through their interview process and was accepted.
Brilliant.
Which was, that's a challenge in itself. So I'm like, I don't know how, but I managed to get through it, and then was really glad because after I got the internship, I did that for 3 months, and then I didn't have to interview again for graduate.
Did you not?
No.
Brilliant.
So that is the benefit at least. Yeah. But went through that. I was working with the auxiliary systems team there, and was my I would say my first introduction to using AutoCAD. That's what I used most of the time when I was there, and with that I must have put AutoCAD on like my skills in LinkedIn, and the summer coming out of that summer internship, I was going back to uni to finish off my degree, and I got a message from Kilbride Consultant Engineers manager, and he had asked me would I like to come to interview for a role as mechanical graduate, and I had replied to that to say, like, obviously I was going back to university, and that's when he said, well, you can come for the interview anyway, and if you're successful then we can look at like reducing your hours to work around your timetable for university. So I said, okay, well, what's to lose here?
That's amazing.
So, and that was because I had those AutoCAD skills that I had learned at BAE, and well, obviously I had just been introduced to it. I probably did learn a lot more when I was actually in Kilbride, but like just having that experience and that kind of connection brought me into getting that job, which was fantastic and a good learning experience.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
like that's like right up my street. So you see any company that brings on an engineering student or a developing engineer, as I put it now, when you're studying at the same time, and they were getting the benefit from your skill set.
Yeah.
So tell me some of the work you would get involved in then when you were there.
So
because you're in there as a graduate, but you're still at uni at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk me through what you were doing.
So like I said, that was a lot of AutoCAD, but that was like a sustainability was a big focus for that company. It is a big focus in building services and every industry, but I think I particularly noticed it there is that they focused a lot on your sustainable technologies, your solar panels, your heat pumps, your waste heat recovery, your water harvesting, rainwater harvesting, like all of that. They were big into that. They were getting lots of different contracts, lots of different things, gyms, factories, residential homes, like lots of different things. So it was very, very spread. And for me, I was only there part-time. Like often I would come in, help someone on one task one day. By the time I came in for my next kind of shift, they were doing something else. I was seeing a different project, which was great, but because I was getting exposure into all these different things. It was full M&E design that they did, but for myself was more focused on the M, which mechanical engineering, things like drainage systems, things like HVAC, heat and ventilation, air conditioning, and that's then when I came to the end of my master's degree. I had a decision to make: is do I want to stay in Kilbride Consulting Engineering? Do I want to apply elsewhere, or do I want to take the offer that I had from BAE Systems to go back to BAE Systems Scotland? So that was probably a big turning point for me, because I did really have to make a decision at that point, and I chose to go to BAE Systems because of the learning opportunities more so. Like I think when I was on my internship there, I seen that there was a lot of training courses and there was a lot of investment in interns and graduates, and I wanted to be part of that. And it's kind of the difference between working in a small company and a large company is large companies can invest more in that formal learning, and there's pros and cons again to whether you work in a small company or a large company. But I feel like I've seen a taste of both now, so I wouldn't say I would say I made the right decision, but I wouldn't say like that maybe is the right decision for everybody, because I can see now that in a big company you maybe get less exposure. Like I was just saying, I'm really interested in control systems, but I haven't actually seen that in my workspace. Whereas if you were in a small company, like you said you're interested in that, you'd probably be on that job.
By the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. so there's differences there. So if anyone is considering that as a question who's listening, like really think about you personally and what you would benefit from. Would you benefit from something more structured learning and development like a graduate scheme can offer, or would you develop for more of what I would say is probably more organic and learning in a smaller company where you get to wear a lot of different hats a lot sooner and work on a lot of different projects, and especially in the case of in Kilbride Consulting Engineers, that would be the case. You'd work on different projects every month, every week.
Well, you've tapped into two areas which I'm talking about all the time at the moment, and almost it's evidence of that it works. So one, a company brings you in as an intern. Forget about the company name, BAE Systems, massive company. But they bring in an intern, they prove that you're the right fit for them. You're in the graduate scheme the next year. Tick. Saves them time and money in terms of that recruitment process. And then number two, in this case it's an SME, but a company recognises that you have a capability and a skill set, and they bring you in to make a difference while you're still studying. That is if anyone's listening to this and they're an SME or any company and you've got CAD resource shortage at the moment, if you've got mechanical engineering shortage, engineering students are capable and they can make a difference on that organic kind of short-term fix approach. I think you've tapped into two areas which, if you were to write the blueprint for bringing people into industry, that you've experienced it to me. So that's really cool, and it sounds great. And you know, you were bought into what you saw at BAE Systems. You know, like people buy into what they see.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that's been amazing. So talk me through the graduate scheme at BAE Systems. How was it? It was 2 years, is that right?
Yeah, so it's 18 months plus. So for myself, 24 months has been. So I've just started at my role as engineer as of Monday. This
You've been an engineer for ages.
Yep.
Just a name.
By the time this goes out, maybe. But as of today, recording, it's just been a couple of days. And it doesn't feel much different, which is good, because I think in the graduate scheme we did get really submerged into a team. We were doing. Everyone I know as a graduate has been doing real work and making a real difference, and that are ready. By the time you come off, you are ready to take that next step with a bit more responsibility, and you're already responsible for your own work and your own projects and your own like things that you're working on, and communicating with other people about that. So to come off as an engineer is going to be more of that. But in terms of what the graduate schemes offers is we got to do a placement to another team, but that isn't always the case. But you definitely do get that kind of experience to do practical work as well as design work. So I got to have that opportunity. And then in terms of like the learning, as a mechanical engineer, we've had a lot of courses that we've got to go on. And then from an early careers perspective as well, early careers give you a lot of courses to go on, which is called personal effectiveness. So it's like a program of courses which is about kind of making yourself a better, like a better, I would say engineer, but it's not just for engineers, but a better employee, and more like being more efficient, learning techniques, dealing with people better, all the kind of soft skills. So early careers offer courses in that kind of thing as well. And then we also got to do a trip to Birmingham where we met all of the graduates that they hired in the year. So there's a lot of networking opportunities on the graduate scheme as well, which...
That must have been a big room.
Oh my goodness, yeah. No, definitely. Like, I think there was over 800 people there. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I think BAE Systems, probably one of the biggest employers in the UK. So, that's nuts.
But it wasn't just the UK. They had flown people from America, Australia, Saudi Arabia, everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's amazing. One of the things I wanted to tap into before we go into more of your role and you know, some of the achievements and the role models, etc., is you. When I was looking at, obviously I know you, and we've spoken up to this, but as I've looked into your profile, to me, like, if I was to say to a student was to sit in front of me and say, what can I do, Josh, to prepare myself for employment, I would, you know, I would say your profile is the type of person I'd be showing. You get involved with GCU racing. You are embedded and have been embedded with the IMechE young members panel for a number of years. Before we go into your kind of roles, I'm particularly interested in GCU racing because I love Formula student. Even though I didn't when I was at university, but I love it now because I just think it's full of incredible, driven young aspiring engineers, which I love. But what made you get involved with the societies, if I want to class it as that? What made you get involved with that out with your studies? Yeah,
so I guess when you're looking at universities, it's actually, I think, something people do consider is they look at what societies the university have. And when I was applying to universities, obviously, like I said, I hadn't really considered GCU because I was in a rush. But GCU doesn't have many societies at that time. I don't know if you'd have a similar experience, but Formula Student didn't exist when I joined university.
Yeah, GCU didn't have, so they had a lot of societies, but they didn't have a lot of, they didn't have any engineering societies. So I was part of the people that started the engineering society, and then that's how I was involved with that and the radio I was involved with. But keep going. So.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I was meaning, like the engineering societies.
Yeah, he's absolutely right.
And during my time at university, one of my classmates had wanted to start up a GCU racing team, like for the IMechE Formula Student race, and they had started up with the sponsor of like a lecture, and I was kind of involved early on in the kind of setting up, but I wasn't like I wasn't like a founding member or anything, but I knew them, if that makes sense. So when they were looking at people to join, I had joined as part of the powertrain team. However, like I said, COVID happened, so it didn't do too much in that. But looking at how GC racing is now, it is fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. And I know, because in my later time at university, I was quite close to a lot of the people in Formula student team, and as my master's project, we were building an electric race car as part of Green Power. So we were closely working in like similar proximity, but they were facing so many struggles that they had to overcome to get to where they are now, and it's fantastic to see the success of the team. So I'm really proud when I see like they're posting and you see how the hard work they went into it, and even all the way back from like those initial people who wanted to start it up and did start it up. I think they would be really proud to see where it is now. And I wish I got more involved, but by the time it started to get, I guess, more involved as a project with being a physical car, by that point I was in my 5th year of university, where it would have just been too much. But if anyone is looking to get involved in that kind of thing, I would highly recommend it. Like, you see the benefits of it, you see that benefit of it when you go for interviews as well, because industry are really interested in it.
It's from an industry point of view, massive interest. And then when you actually look at it from the, you begin to assess what an individual builds by being in a team, but by being in one of the societies, or in particular GC racing. So you're working as a team, the quality, the actual engineering they're doing, the hands-on engineering, the regular meetups. There's so much to it. I mean, I know some of the team now and speak with them. So out with your dad, or maybe it is your dad, has there been any role models, mentors in your career who have helped you along the way in terms of into engineering, or while you've been in the engineering industry? So I would like to mention a lot of the staff here at Glasgow Caledonian University. Fantastic mentors. A lot of them had industry experience, as well as obviously the academic qualifications as well. My supervisors for my 2 projects was Garrett Bevan and then Patricia Monzes Escalona. So both of those people were fantastic mentors to have, and very good at pushing me to go a bit further, because I think when doing both projects, I was like, okay, that's it, it's good, and then they're like, oh, but what can you do more, kind of thing, and they really pushed that, and it was really great what they managed to get out of me, I feel like, because they definitely pushed me to do better. So, and then out with that in work as well, I've have a chartership mentor as I'm working towards chartership, so that's Pat Webster, and then through BAE Systems they have a corporate mentoring scheme as well, so I have recently just got a mentor through that, which is Fiona Barnes. So and she's really interesting because our career is all about quality management, and it's really interesting to kind of see that kind of side of things, because obviously now I'm working as a design engineer, and I know from her point of view she's always bringing it back to quality, and it's interesting to connect those dots up. So all of those people, and probably a lot of people I haven't mentioned as well, I have met informal mentors, I guess, just within the team, and people I look up to within my team, and people I've worked with, and even people like yourself and you meet out with work, are mentors and are inspiration. God, this is a definite cut.
No,
I think that I see this a lot, but I think it's really, really important, because I think when you're a student, it's important to know this is going to be coming. You realise it at first with, like you said, those who support you in your masters or your honours dissertation. But there tends to be quite a few people in these different areas, like you mentioned. You just summed it up quite well. And I think when you've had a mentor or mentors, it just makes you want to, you understand the value of them. It makes you want to do the same and support back, doesn't it? Because you realise that people are so important to each other.
Definitely, that's something that I'm really keen on doing for sure. For BAE Systems, they also do reverse mentoring schemes. So I've been a mentor to senior people, people way more senior than me, which is really interesting dynamic. And I've also through BAE Systems, they sponsor Arkwright scholars, and I've been a mentor to 2 two school pupils, and today is actually A-levels results day, and I got a message today that my mentee has got 4 A stars at A-level, which is absolutely insane.
That is unreal.
And last week as well, another one of my mentees as well, at like SQA results day, got similar like A's
Wow.
across all hires. So
that's amazing.
It's actually fantastic when you see young people who are so passionate and doing so well.
Yeah.
And it's almost a bit of imposter syndrome when they come to me for advice when I'm like, I was nowhere near that at their age, and like the talent that these young people have is phenomenal. And you see that that is also, I guess, what inspires me as well, like and encourages me. So yeah.
Well, you're obviously you're an inspiration in yourself. You've got your own. So I think everyone's inspirational, right? Some people know how to talk about it and help that. Some people don't. This maybe get a bit too personal. I'm quite, I'm quite loud. I'll kind of give my view, but the people who inspire me are the complete opposite to me. Because everyone's different, and so I think everyone inspires. Everyone has the ability to inspire. And I think it's just really, really important that everyone talks about the people that inspire them, because it's a form of empowerment, but also it gives those who maybe sometimes a bit struggle in their career or maybe haven't quite seen where their career is going to go, to reach out to someone. And because 9 times out of 10 when you reach out to someone, they'll turn around and help you. The right people do.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for sharing that. I really appreciate the different sides of you being a mentor, but also those who've mentored you.
Yeah, no problem.
So talk me through any strategies or approaches in terms of overcoming challenges. You mentioned the setback or the challenge of not getting to go out to Switzerland during COVID. Is there any other ones, or is that the main one? How did you overcome that in the end?
Overcoming that is actually, I guess, is quite interesting, because the main one was that I didn't get to go to Spain, and then I thought, okay, maybe Switzerland. But during that time, I decided I will just make the most of the time I have here, even though I'm in my house and I am studying online, like working online, everything online from your house. And that's when I actually joined the IMechE Glasgow Young Members panel, and I think I must have been in third year at that point, third year university, and I got involved in that straight away. The team at that time were really creative to keep it going over COVID, and it's something that they did fantastically. And at the time I joined, they were running a photography competition, and then I ended up being the judge. As like a new recruit into the panel, I guess, unbiased. So I was the judge for the engineering. It was engineering related photography. So if you go back on the IMechE on the IMechE Instagram, you'll probably see some of these photos. But it was quite interesting, and I ended up helping with that. And then from that, I got really involved in the social media, and a big part of my role initially on the IMechE panel for Glasgow Young Members was social media. I was in the social media team. The following year I then was what was called digital officer, so I was dealing with the social media as well as the website, so the Near You page, which you may be seeing if you've signed up to any IMechE events. So the kind of the backside of that, and uploading events and managing who's got tickets, how much tickets cost, if they're free, limited numbers and all that kind of stuff. Especially at that time, limited numbers was a big thing because we were dealing with COVID restrictions. So anywhere we wanted to host an event, it was strictly 60 people or strictly 40 people, depending on the size of the venue. So all that kind of stuff I got involved in. And I would say that, I know that's kind of taken us off the question, but looking at other opportunities, like just because one opportunity doesn't go to plan, like that is kind of an opportunity in itself to look at what else is out there. And for me, that's been fantastic because I didn't get to go to Spain or Switzerland, but I got involved in the engineering community in Glasgow, and that has potentially helped me even more because your community, your local community, and the people that are local to you can have a big impact. So don't like think that you, just because one opportunity doesn't go your way, that's it.
So what advice would you give to someone considering a career in engineering?
I would say to go for it, which obviously if you're considering it, at any level. Obviously, consider your options and what your interests are. But there's so much variety within engineering that there almost is something for everyone. Whether you want to do like ships, buildings, you want to do like items that people use every day, you want to do transport. Like there's so much. Like it touches everything, engineering. So I don't see why not try it. Especially if you're considering it. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And we need you. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we need the
definitely,
engineers.
yeah.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, it doesn't have to be in what you're working on at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you find exciting in the world of engineering at the moment?
So I think for me, I do consider that sustainability aspect really interesting, but specifically like make it like almost like proving things are reliable and are safe, not just good for the environment, but it's like everything impacts everything. Everything's interconnected, and if something's good for the environment but it's not safe, or if something's like for example, something could be like something could add one thing positive and take away something negative. Like it's kind of getting that balance, and I think that's really interesting. And in the industry I work in, a big thing is that we don't go with new technologies because they don't know if they're proven safe. And in the industry of defence, they're going to be tested to their limits, so they need to be proven safe. And I think that there is no choice whether people move to more sustainable options or not. You have to move to that, but it's going to be an interesting challenge to proving things reliable and safe. And I think that's what I find quite interesting just now.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing that. So looking ahead in your career, then, you've just moved out your graduate role into mechanical design engineer. What's the professional goals or your aspirations for the future?
Yeah, so at the moment I really do just want to settle into my role. It's been quite busy coming off of uni, going into the graduate scheme, trying to develop so much, and obviously I do want to continue that, but I want to also settle into the role, get confident in my role and in my abilities, because at the moment I feel like you're just kind of cosplaying as an engineer, but I do want to be in that position where I know that what I'm doing is the best option and the most efficient way of doing things. Because a lot of times you're doing something for the first time and you're learning, is this the right way to do it? Oh, actually, it's actually easier if I do it this way. So I want to become efficient in my role and really start to like excel in that and settle into the role of engineer. And also obviously working towards the longer term goal of getting chartered. So I'm looking to do that with the Institute of Mechanical Engineering and just gradually building those competencies. I'm on this supported development scheme, so I'm writing quarterly reports and annual reports. So really just staying on top of that and working towards that. And I guess more of a personal like goal within my career is I would like to travel. Like I said, my dad inspired me and he travelled a lot with his career, and I would love to get that opportunity to go and work outside of Scotland. Not specifically anywhere, like I don't have anywhere in mind as a like a target, but I would like to take those opportunities if they came available. So
I'm sure you can get on a few sea trials.
Oh, that would be it. That would be a dream. That would be a dream.
Yeah,
definitely.
We never know. Yeah. Oh, well, engineering can take you anywhere.
Yep.
I think you and I both know plenty of people that are proven that. So Erin, it's been great having you on the podcast, and being open and frank about your career and the different steps you've went through to get to where you are today. I know it's going to help somebody, and I'm really, really, really happy and honoured that you've been willing to come on and keep doing what you're doing with the IMechE and with your being a mentor. It really makes a big difference. I think you know that, but to hear it from someone else, it does make a massive difference. I attended the Speak Out for Engineering event in Glasgow with IMechE, and you were there, and you were part of that event, and events like that don't happen without people who have got a passion for helping and sharing and spreading what engineering is. So keep doing that, because there's students who are benefiting from it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for the encouragement as well.
No problem
and thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So finally, what keeps you passionate about engineering?
So you've really just touched on it there. That STEM work, I've worked with primary engineer and also with a charity called Smart STEMs in Glasgow, and Glasgow Caledonian University do a lot of events with them as well. They've just celebrated 10 years. That kind of work is what motivates me, especially because we don't want to like paint a picture that engineering is easy, because it's definitely difficult. But when you have those days that you're trying to solve really difficult problems, but then you see like young children who have got creative solutions to difficult problems, it reminds you, okay, we need to look at this from a perspective like they do, as a challenge that we can overcome, and we have the knowledge and the ability to do as engineers. So rather than getting bogged down in the challenges, it's trying to think of those ideas, and STEM work's always something that reminds me of that.
Oh, brilliant. So yeah, keep going. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.